I think I've got an admittedly kind of weird problem with Mirage in Rise of the Beasts. Now, the movie isn't out yet, but based on what we've seen from marketing and from interviews, I feel pretty confident that we know what Mirage's deal is going to be, and I can't say that I'm thrilled about it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and criticize RotB, partially because it's not out yet, but also because this Mirage thing is not a major problem. Rather, it's something that I personally care about because, well, I'm a big fan of the character. I hate being overly negative, so instead, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about why I like the original Mirage so much. See, Mirage is one of my favorite Autobots from the original 1984 lineup. I know that's a strange opinion since, well, he's not really a major player in either the Sunbow cartoon or the Marvel comic. Aside from the episode Traitor, which I'll talk about later, Mirage didn't ever really do anything. If people remember him, it's because of his unique special abilities and maybe his Formula 1 vehicle mode. To me though, Mirage is one of the more interesting Transformers characters, not because of any of that, but because of the way he's characterized in his original profile. Now, to take a step back, the original Transformers profiles were written by Bob Budiansky, and, at least for G1, they're pretty much the basis for all of those characters. The cartoon and the comic both used the profiles as a springboard. That's where the personalities really came from. In the case of the cartoon, its production bible is actually available online, and you can see its character profiles are mostly just summaries of what Budiansky wrote, sometimes even containing the exact same phrases. All of the toys also came with text pick cards that included shortened versions of Budiansky's profiles. These profiles are essentially the original version, the original intent of all those characters. They're honestly kind of the reason that I don't take claims like so-and-so had no personality in G1 seriously. They clearly had a personality, but the cartoon and the comic just never really did anything with it. Especially with some of the earlier characters, they've all got these very vibrant and interesting personalities, even if we never actually got to see that. But okay, back to Mirage. What was his personality then? I'm gonna be a bit lazy and just read you his original profile. Mirage is not thrilled about being with a bunch of rough and tumble freedom fighters like the Autobots. If he had a choice, he'd be in Monte Carlo, or better yet, back on his beloved Cybertron hunting turbo foxes with his high-priced friends. Autobot leader Optimus Prime must constantly cajole him into continuing his service with the Autobots, but he feels it may be a losing battle. Despite his coolness to the cause, Mirage is a surprisingly effective and deadly fighter, and an even more effective intelligence gatherer, which is the role he much prefers. And then for his weaknesses. He's unsure of the Autobots and their cause, and consequently cannot always be fully trusted. Optimus Prime is well aware of his coolness to the group, but considers him too valuable to let go. That personality is why I'm so fond of the character. At his core, Mirage is old money who finds himself fighting alongside the largely working-class Autobots, and nobody is really comfortable with that. Most of the other Autobots see Mirage as this rich, out-of-touch aristocrat, and they can't exactly befriend or even trust him, what with his too-good-for-war attitude and coolness to their cause. To their credit though, Mirage isn't exactly making it easy for them. He does see himself as above the war, he thinks he's too civilized for this, and he'd rather just go back to the good old days of enjoying his privilege as the idle rich. He's not inherently a traitor or untrustworthy, it's just that he's so indifferent to the plight of the working class Autobots that he's not exactly a natural ally. Where most of the Autobots come from humble backgrounds like librarians or construction workers, Mirage is basically the top 1%. That's not a natural friendship. There's a complexity to Mirage's intended characterization that unfortunately never really got the opportunity to shine anywhere. Mirage is barely in the Marvel comic, and while the Sunbow cartoon does more with the character, it does kind of sand off a lot of the edge and nuance. Still, the Sunbow cartoon depiction of the character was, perhaps until recently, the prevailing version of him, so let's take a closer look at how he's portrayed there. I would argue that Mirage has two major roles in the Sunbow cartoon. The first is in the pilot miniseries, More Than Meets the Eye, and the second is in the Season 2 episode Traitor. Starting with the former, Mirage surprisingly gets more of the spotlight than a lot of his fellow Autobots. We learn that Mirage isn't necessarily fond of fighting, and that he'd honestly rather just go back to Cybertron. Per his original profile, Optimus and the others need to remind him of the danger that Megatron poses on Earth and the importance of stopping him. Mirage even gets a bit of a character arc here. At the end of the pilot, he's the one who stops the Decepticons from leaving Earth, even though he could have taken the opportunity to go back home with them.
We knew you were anxious to get back to Cybertron, but at least you could have waited for us.
Sorry, Prime. The ship was full.
After this, Mirage doesn't really do anything interesting until the episode Traitor, in which he's accused of being a traitor by Cliffjumper. I'm not really going to get further into it than that because, honestly, that's all you need to know. This episode, I would argue, kind of informs the popular perception of Mirage. In almost every continuity after this, he's depicted as either a traitor or a suspected traitor. And I find that interesting because, as I talked about earlier, that's not really what he's supposed to be. It's not that Mirage is treacherous necessarily, it's that he's nostalgic for the good old days, for a life that most of his fellow Autobots were never privileged enough to experience. That's where the tension between Mirage and the other Autobots comes from. It's class tension. Unfortunately, that characterization has never come to the fore anywhere, and that sucks honestly. He has the potential to be one of the most interesting and complex characters in Transformers, but he's never really been fully realized anywhere. Like I said at the start, people remember Mirage more for his special abilities than his personality. And that kind of brings us back around to RotB Mirage. Obviously, RotB Mirage isn't the same character as G1 Mirage, and he doesn't really have to be. I'm not one of those people who say that everything must be exactly like it was in G1 because I think that's just silly. At the same time though, it's important to recognize that RotB Mirage is clearly based on the original. He's got the holographic powers which, contrary to popular belief, are actually pretty accurate to the original profile. He even looks like G1 Mirage, at least more so than someone like Wheeljack looks like their namesake. Honestly, excluding personality, the biggest difference is that he's not an F1 car. But you've probably realized by now that I care a lot about personality. See, RotB Mirage is being marketed as the young, reckless hotshot of the group. The film's director, Stephen Cable Jr., has described him as a rebel numerous times. To quote the man himself, "I was like, how do we switch this up? Everyone falls in line. RC, Bumblebee, they all listen to Prime because he's the boss, the leader. What if we had a rebel, an outcast, someone who every time Prime wants to go right, he's like, what about left? What about using the humans?" That's where Mirage came about. Mirage being this rebel who butts heads with the other Autobots makes a lot of sense, and it does feel at least vaguely inspired by that uncertain of the Autobot cause characterization. Based on his trailers, he seems like a lot of fun. I like his energy, and I even think Pete Davidson sounds really great in the role. But as a big Mirage fan, the fact that his personality is such a far cry from the original does pain me, especially considering that there are plenty of other Autobots who already fit into that role. Now, to conclude, I understand that a lot of people don't really care about this. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is a weird issue that I only care about since I like the original Mirage so much. I hope this video doesn't come across as just me complaining for the sake of complaining. I am genuinely looking forward to the movie, and I'm honestly excited to see Mirage in action. Giving someone other than Optimus or Bumblebee the spotlight will never not be a good thing in my book. It's just, I wanted to give a bit of a shout to the original Mirage, you know? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got some more stuff planned that'll be out eventually. Honestly, I have no idea. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and until next time.